Live on some things.
I wish they would clean up.
All right. I think we are live.
All right.
Live on everything? Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't
verify. Before I say too much and then.
Yeah, before I ramble on. All right. We are good on Instagram and YouTube, and it looks, Facebook says we're live. I don't see our faces. There we go. All right.
All right. Good morning, everybody. It's episode number 99. 99 of these that we've put on since 2020.
99 problems.
Yeah. We are here to discuss all things 034 Motorsport. I'm Javad Shadzi. This is Nate Stewart. I'm the CEO, and Nate is the head of software engineering and products. Please submit your questions into the browser of your choice, and we will do our best to answer any questions you have. We've been getting a lot of questions lately, and I know there was a lot left over from last week that we didn't get to.
Yeah, we're trying to get to as many as we can.
But the new ones seem to be increasing every week, so we've had a hard time keeping up with that. But we do try to answer the best questions. I'm sorry, there's no such thing as a bad question, but there are.
We can only get to so many, so some of them are very repetitive. Maybe we've already covered in some way.
The same old product update questions.
Yeah.
So, we are going to discuss our new TTE 710 Stage 3 tuning that we're releasing today for B9 3.0T. So we're excited about that. We've been gearing up for this for a little while, and we will talk a little bit more about that in a while, and all the specs and power numbers. Now, this is not live on our site yet. We should have this tuning available for purchase later this afternoon.
Yeah.
And then if you do purchase, it will take a day or two to make your account live, and then we will also discuss our new Stage 3 TCU tuning, which complements the Stage 3 ECU tuning as well. Yep. So hang in there for that. We'll probably a little after halfway through the show, we'll discuss that. Let me tackle some questions from last week. With this products, doctor reselling over there, stage to say again, nobody cleans over here.
Oh, that's you. You were annotating, yeah.
Oh my gosh, that was Siri.
Yeah, okay. Siri had a.
That's pretty ridiculous. Okay, rolling anti-lag on B9 S4. Is this a possible supported feature in the near future, as well as just launch control?
Yeah, right now you can brake boost. Rolling anti-lag, we'll look into see how much benefit we get out of that versus the current brake boosting. So if it is a beneficial enough feature, we will roll it in. So yes, that is potentially coming.
Yeah. Someone's asking, have you come across any oil starvation on the B9 when on track? We have not.
Oil starvation, no.
No, not in the B9. And this is typically not as much of an issue for the Audis. With the longitudinal motor, and they just seem to deal with that much better. Fuel starvation is an issue in most Audis.
Yeah, especially at these, as you go up and up and up in power.
Yeah.
Obviously, your demand goes up and up. So any hiccup in the delivery is going to be exacerbated.
Yeah. I think you guys mentioned that you've been doing some work with a 340i. What are some of your guys' early findings for comparing the B58 versus the EA839? I mean, these BMWs are nice cars. I know there's a lot of animosity, or animosity is the right word, competitiveness or rivalry between BMW and Audi. There's no question the BMW cars are really nice, and I would say typically have higher performance than their Audi counterparts. For example, the 340i I think is at a much higher level of performance than even like a B9 S4. Certainly in the power department. So it's almost like, the M cars and the S don't correlate. So it's almost like the M RS stuff. But anyway, I don't know, I'm making some random generalizations. Overall, every time I get in any of these BMWs and stock, this car's really good. Now, from a tuning standpoint, I think the Audis are fun to tune because Audi does leave more on the table. So, for example, you can take a B9 S4 from 300, I don't know, what are those, 350 horsepower stock to over 700, with some light bolt-ons. You can literally double the horsepower and torque of that motor. And then there's a lot you can do with the suspension and tuning of, suspension tuning as well. So,
as an aftermarket company, we like the Audis a lot.
yeah, I mean, if from a tuning standpoint, I think if you just want to buy a car that's really fast and quick and you don't necessarily want to do anything with it, and BMW has more options like that. But the Audis and the Volkswagens definitely leave some room on the table, which is really fun from a tuning standpoint.
And of course, all of the other, nuances about Audis we tend to love, which would be primarily all-wheel drive in every platform they offer.
That's definitely Audi's advantage, and I know BMW has
They've got the extra
all-wheel drive options that I'm not that familiar with, but the Audi Quattro systems work really well. And so, anyways, we'll be doing more BMW stuff as well. Stage 1 E85 for my RS3. Can I run a downpipe with your tune? No.
Yeah, we
not on Stage 1. And that's what Stage 2 is for. And Stage 1 is for the factory catalytic converter. Does it cost extra to change the map on Stage 1 to different octane?
Nope.
No.
If you see octanes on on the server, let me put it this way: any octanes that we calibrate for on a given platform are available to you. So if you see on the website, we've got a Stage 1 with 91, 93, 100, 104, E85, E40, whatever. If you see it on that website for that product page, you have access to it.
Yeah.
So no, we're not gonna hold out and charge for per octane.
The way we sell tunes is you pay or buy by the stage. Within the stage, there's all the octanes, and you get all that. I remember it used to be there were some companies that would, you would buy a tune and you get one octane. And I think with APR, it used to be then you'd pay extra and you get all the octanes. So we don't do that.
You could do the fully loaded.
If you buy Stage 1, you get all the octanes. If you buy Stage 2, you get all the octanes. But there is an upgrade charge between Stage 1 and Stage 2. So on and so forth. So, what difference between H&R and 034 lowering springs for B9 S4 S5? I don't have a lot of experience. I don't think any of us do with H&R springs. When we developed our springs, we did not compare them to H&R springs. So I can't say. I mean, you could see what the advertised lowering differences are. From what I've heard from customers who have tried both, the 034 springs are better and more popular. They offer better ride and better handling, but that's just anecdotally from customer feedback. B9 S4 Dynamic Plus springs is one of our top selling spring products. We sell so many of those. So, that's all I can say. And we have other lives about this where this is discussed, but me and the engineering team and marketing, we drive all these products while they're in development, and we give feedback. And so what you get from 034 Motorsport is a spring that handles and rides based on performance enthusiast feedback from people who love these cars and drive them every day. I don't know what H&R does. I don't think the CEO of H&R drives all their cars with all their springs. I think they have much more formulaic. They take a spring, they lower it a certain. I don't know who's going out and driving it, evaluating it, doing track days, going out into the mountains and driving around, commuting, to home and back and all that stuff. So if you want a spring that's manufactured in the U.S. by a world-class manufacturing company, that's not, we don't manufacture springs. But we have a company here in the U.S. that makes our springs for us. Very good quality spring manufacturer, does like military mil spec work and things like that. And if you want a spring that's designed by enthusiasts who love driving these cars, who have track and racing experience, but also know what the car should drive on the street, that's where 034 Motorsport. What else? Any questions below this here?
General lab.
Okay.
It's everything that's just kind of filtering through. And then I've got stage 3 specific stuff.
Okay, the first one has already been answered.
There was follow-up.
Oh. For stage 1 E85 RS3, what injectors do you recommend for stage 2 E85?
It's on our website.
It's on
we list all that direct on the website. I want to say the part numbers and everything for the injectors are in there. I think we have as much info as you could need to get set up for that.
It should all be there. If you have any questions, shoot us an email. Contact at 034motorsport.com. B8 3.0T with stage 2 plus tunes, which trans tune is the recommended tune? The 7200 or the variable RPM shift tune?
I mean, they're both available to you for whatever you want to do with it. So your recommended, what we recommend is the best suited to your use case. So if you're going to be, road course driving, street driving, I would say the 7200 is where you want to be. If you need to, you're working on your quarter mile time, you want to have a little more flexibility on your shift points, where it's going to shift to red line, then that's kind of what the higher rev map TCU file is for.
Yeah.
Yep, they're both. I mean, other than the shift points, they're identical.
What's the possibility of you guys releasing instructions for how to install the 034 rear main seal? I mean, that is just a factory replacement procedure. There's nothing different about our seal when installing it. You could reference a factory manual on how to do that. Now, if you're talking about instructions on like pull the car in the garage and how do you replace the rear main seal, you have to drop the transmission, and there's a lot that goes into that. So I don't think we had plans to do anything more with instructions than has already been provided. We do provide this install seal, the seal installation tool with those kits. But I think you can get a subscription to an online factory manual.
Yeah, I mean, if it's Volkswagen Audi, you can use their Irwin system, which is it's like $35 for a day, and you can get all of the normal factory sorts and documentation. What engine? This was the 2-liter.
I mean, it would be the same for either.
Yeah, it depends. I don't know how far back they go, but yeah, 2-liter FSI motor should certainly be in there.
But you basically take the bolts out of the old one.
The thing is, like, some of these things, it's literally an OEM replacement. So it's
better quality.
We couldn't add anything procedure-wise to replace it. We couldn't add anything that isn't already documented at an OEM level. And some of these are just so involved that to do a full instruction manual, where do you start? Do you pull a running car on a lift and go through every iteration of transmission removal and reinstall? So,
are you guys ever going to do more research into the CREC engine in the C7.5 cars, or have you seen too many roadblocks to pursue it? Well, we are working on that, and we are interested in that.
Yeah, the only roadblock is just how many are out there and being tuned. It's a far, far smaller number than the normal B8.
It's not a terrible option for an older setup to look into upgrading to the better intercoolers and some of the other stuff. But
well, you talking was that maybe I misheard?
CREC.
That's the Yeah, but are you talking like retrofitting from an old one to the
I
new?
mean, there was some discussion of that.
Yeah, some people
Or even putting that motor, the whole motor
yeah, you
in.
can swap the whole ECU
Yeah.
and all that.
Yeah.
But no, CREC tuning in general, we will be doing more with. We have one in house here now. So yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
we haven't left it for dead.
Does the B5 S4 X34 fit all models? That would be 1998 S4. Yes. As far as I know, it fits all S4s from 98 through 2002.
Yep.
Those are very standard APB setups in the S4 chassis.
I believe it fits the BEL stuff too. Oh no, that's all.
But I don't think S4 got BEL.
They never got the BEL.
Maybe in 2002 they did,
Yeah,
like at the
maybe
very
European
end.
and stuff, but I don't
I think there
there
are a few out there, but that was mostly all roads and stuff.
Yep.
B9 3.0T, any advice to 18 model year owners around rocker arm failures? I've seen a few, which doesn't mean much out of the thousands out there.
Right. Same thing. I mean, we've seen
Yeah.
a few, but
And we've heard of it.
we've heard of it. I don't, until there's a proactive recall, I don't know that there's really much to do.
Yeah, or why it happens, or
Right.
But it's not a widespread thing yet. And same question below that too. Looking to buy an E85 content analyzer for my B9 RS5. Which do you recommend? What size fuel lines are on the B9 RS5? I believe those lines are all 8mm or 5/16, where you would install the sensor, the front of the motor. As far as we don't have we offer one kit that uses an Innovate kit for some of the DASA stuff. But I think the Fuelit stuff's pretty popular.
Fuelit stuff's really popular
Because it's all Bluetooth through to your phone.
You don't have to run cables or wires through the firewall to the dash. It's just it's literally a sensor with a Bluetooth module on it, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can just check your content with a app on your phone.
Yeah. So I think that one's really popular, but I know there's plenty of options out there. We've used the AEM ones as well.
Yeah.
With the
almost all of these use the same sensor or basically the same type of sensor. It's just an interface to an OEM sensor, usually a GM or Continental sensor of some sort. So it's kind of pick the features that you want and the installation you want.
What suspension setup do you recommend for best 60 feet and quarter mile time on S4 S5 B9 platform? We can't really answer this. We haven't optimized the suspension.
No, and I think we talked about this a little bit last week when we were talking the B8 quarter mile record stuff. It's going to vary a lot depending on your tires, your track, your conditions. How you're launching and what you're able to launch with. So,
I would say if you're really serious about this, get an adjustable coilover setup, something like a KW, and then you're gonna want to make sure that you can buy different rate coil springs as well. Generally speaking, like Nate said, there's a lot of variables, but generally speaking, you want basically from a driving and road racing standpoint, a terrible suspension. So you want something that can compress a lot in the back. That's generally a pretty soft suspension with not a lot of damping is going to be the best drag racing suspension, because the goal here is to just keep the tires on the track all the time. And so if the suspension can compress, you're always going to have the most traction in the back. So the more weight you can shift to the rear tires, the more traction you'll get back there, the more forward acceleration you can get. And at the same time, you want to keep the front tires down on the pavement. So that means having long travel front suspension with adjustable rebound. And the idea is you launch, the car squats, you apply most of the power and weight to the rear tires where you have wrinkle slicks back there. And then the front, stay on the pavement and continue to also, any excess power that's in the back can get sent to the front, and you can get that acceleration force in the front as well. The car is going to feel bouncy. It's going to be terrible to drive, like I said. But if you really, start looking at, road cars that are turned into like 6, 7, 8 second quarter-mile cars. When they launch, you'll see that they just squat and bounce, halfway down the track. But that is usually what's quickest. Unfortunately, our Dynamic Plus suspension components, will help with things like wheel hop and general like compliance in the suspension, but they're not necessarily. They're not designed for.
They're not like
the fastest 64
drag
drag.
racing.
They're not drag racing suspensions. So, and once you're at that point, you also have tiny wheels, really light tiny wheels, tiny little brakes that barely stop the car. Hopefully, you've gutted the interiors, stuff like that. Stage 3 for Mark 7 in the works. I want to upgrade to the IS38 on my GT. Yes, it is in the works. That project, while getting worked on, has taken a backseat to some of the other projects that you've seen us releasing. But we hope to continue to add more engineering resources, and that would be the goal.
Yeah, that actually ties in with this question above it too. So S3 E30 map. We've talked about this before. We are not likely going to go build file for the MQB stuff simply because we can give you true flex fuel on those. So we have flex fuel systems in place running here, and are calibrating them now. So there's not a lot of reason to do solid blended, static blended files. So I mean, you'll be able to run E30, but we won't have a specific E30 file for it.
Okay, the questions are pouring in.
They're coming in hot.
Will there be any benefit to revving the 3.0T supercharged engines lower but using more aggressive ratio?
More aggressive ratio.
Like, more boost sooner, but not.
Oh.
I mean, it's certainly
those things,
it's worth looking into.
To a point, yeah. I can see where that's coming from, but I mean, those motors make power all the way to redline.
Yeah.
The VE of that motor, it's not all stuck at the bottom end.
Yeah, I don't think that would result in more power or faster. It would result in more torque.
Yeah.
You could generate more torque. But the problem with that is, the lower you try to make power, the worse the fueling situation.
Yeah, and you're still, it's not just the supercharger RPMs that are making the heat. It's the amount that you're compressing the air and how efficiently the supercharger is able to compress that air at a given ratio or pressure ratio. The temperatures will be still, quite a bit hotter, even if you're short shifting.
Yeah. I don't know if you had answered this before, but what would you recommend for a front mount intercooler, stock location, or true front mount for a Mark 7 Golf R? I'd recommend the Wagner front mount. That's a really good intercooler. And I really don't think there's a lot to gain by doing and the problem is when you say true front mount, what does that mean?
Getting it in front of all the other condensers.
It's now an intercooler that's mounted in front, but is it actually bigger or better? And you haven't really specified what you would be doing with the space. If you're talking about installing front mount intercooler of a certain size, cooling capacity and CFM, then sure, at some point you could improve on the stock location, but there's really nothing wrong with the stock location. And again, if you're making 1,000 horsepower, no, you're going to need to do something different. So there's a couple things that you need to clarify there. But generally, I'd say for up to 400 or 500 horsepower, that's like something like the Wagner and a stock location is a really
it works really well.
We are working on some of our own intercoolers too. We're going to be late to the game, but at least we'll have them out there.
Yep.
Those are a little ways out. Looks like we have a few questions that need to get deleted. There's a grinding noise from stop on my 19 S4 for 13,000 miles. Have you seen this before? If so, what is it? My Audi tech says it's nothing to worry about.
That's an impossible diagnosis.
Yeah, there would be no way for us to say. But
and this is one thing we do stress with people looking for this kind of support and questions is there's literally no way we can even start with that.
Well, I think what he wants to know is is this a common
is there a known grinding noise? Yeah.
And no, there isn't. No, not that I'm aware.
And but also to that end, what does grinding noise mean to you? Is it?
Yeah. I mean, there should never be anything on a car that sounds like grinding.
Yeah.
Unless it's coming from the back seat, then it may be suitable.
It's questions about whether we've talked about stage 3 yet. Do you want to?
No.
Got a little bit.
Yeah, let's give it another 5 or 10 minutes. I really like your guys' tunes, but I don't want to drive through hours to get it flashed to my ECU. Any chance for a small run on PL34 loaders? No. Those were a nightmare.
They're terrible.
Just the worst.
Um,
You could send your ECU in to us.
You can send your ECU in. It's yeah, we're in a sticky spot right now with some of these older platforms due to that. But yeah, I mean, currently you can send your stuff out.
Yeah. It would help to know what implications. Yeah, but. Would you ever consider releasing optional low torque tunes similar to your competitors, especially on turbo upgrades? I like flat torque tunes with top end power. Less wear on drivetrain and risk. We're not currently considering that, no. I'm not sure what our competitors have. I guess most of our customers exclusively across the board want the most power and acceleration they can get. And there are no reliability issues with any of our tunes that we've seen, or heard of, or that we've been able to document. Yeah, so I don't think we would. And each tune that we support requires a lot of work to support that and to keep that file updated and current. And yeah, so that's why we limit the number of files that we support.
Yep.
You can think of like each file you have is like a house you own. It's going to require maintenance, and if that house isn't going up in value, then you're just wasting money on it. So, but if we continue to get more and more feedback, and it appears that a nice chunk of the market would like that, then of course,
yeah, if that's what you guys want.
But if it's for 6 people, then no.
Right, yeah. I mean, when you guys are asking these questions too, try and give us as much info as you can, like what platform you're talking about. Is MQB? Is it a B9? Is GTI S3, RS5?
Why does the transmission whine on B9 S4 after a few pulls? I've been seeing discussion about this online. The ZF8 does whine really badly, like every transmission. You just have no idea how much whine there is, because you're insulated from the horrificness of the amount of whining that is going on inside a transmission. With that said, it's normal, and this is something related to the mounting and damping of the transmission, and some amount of whining does come through.
I haven't seen these discussions. My initial gut, just based on exactly this one sentence, would be it's likely just fluid temperatures are warming up a little bit, and you're getting a little bit more noise just from it's the different characteristics to the transmission fluid.
It's very subtle.
Yeah,
like I think if you have an exhaust or something like that, you might not hear it. But it is a thing, and it's perfectly fine.
Yeah, and I know my B8, basically every car I've ever driven, it makes a lot of different noises depending on the temperature of the drivetrain. Basically,
Mm-hmm.
Stone cold, it makes one set of noises, or you can detect one set of noises. It heats up another. Hot on, coming off a hot track, whole another set. So,
but if you ever had the opportunity to like put a stethoscope on a transmission, like if it was on a dyno,
you think the thing's coming out of the casing,
and if you've ever been like watched old the Vietnam movies where the Hueys and the whining of the helicopter. I mean, that's what the car transmission sounds like too. So it's kind of a miracle that transmissions and diffs can be so isolated.
Even it's an engine too as well. Even engine's got even more going on. If you put a mechanic stethoscope, it's real long.
Or if you've ever been in a race car, it's just like
anything hard mounted. It's making all those noises. Not necessarily because they got some crazy exotic transmission in the thing.
No,
usually it's just solid mounted or very firmly mounted, and you get so much NVH coming through, and there's no dampening and all the other good stuff that you don't even know is there.
What's your 2 favorite performance aspects of the RS5 2.9 platform in comparison to other Audis? I heard that stock dynamic mode is too stiff on the RS5. Would you agree?
It's stiff. It's
stiff.
I think it might be a little over stiff for the stock springs.
I think that's usually, my opinion is most Audis come with that have magnetic damping or adjustable damping. the shocks become over, they're over dampened in dynamic mode, and so our springs often really help address that. Generally, I like driving around. I don't really like driving around in dynamic mode for the suspension. I actually really like comfort mode on the street, and I think it gives the right amount of compliance for how bumpy and uneven street roads are. But I mean, the RS5 is just that motor with those turbos and the tuning with E85. It's just ridiculous. I mean, if you want a really, really fast stage 1 car, and you have access to E85, then that's all you really need.
You're in a good place.
Yeah. There's just a few supporting mods, and it's a riot. So that's cool. I mean, I think the little
oh god, the valet
assist things
for your
that
seatbelt.
push the seatbelt forward. So
My kids like that one the best.
yeah, that's kind of cool.
Daddy, the car's giving you your seatbelt.
And it's kind of also nice, like with 4 seats. I mean, it will not super comfortably, but it will hold 4 adults, and the rear seats are kind of more sculpted and roomy because there's no middle seat option.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's a cool car. Definitely a great car. All right, a couple more, and then we can talk Stage 3 stuff. Is your B8.5 Stage 2+ file compatible with the ECS throttle body? Not sure if the 034 Super Duper clears my strut brace or not. ECS has a throttle body?
That's news to me.
Let me look.
Or did he mean the ECS strut tie bar?
Hold on. I want to say I saw something about this going on, but I didn't see that it was actually released. Yeah, they have a throttle body.
But why would you buy that?
Does it cost?
The adapter looks really familiar.
Oh, looks like they just knocked some stuff off. Nice job, ECS.
Oh wait, yeah, no, that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why you would buy that. I mean,
Cost the same.
you have 034 Motorsport. I mean, there's even our competitors that actually.
It's
I don't know what ECS knows about tuning B8s. They don't actually do any tuning there. So, yeah, I don't buy the ECS throttle body. I'm sorry. I mean, I like ECS.
They went with
They're a customer and stuff.
Yeah, they went with an 80 mil throttle body.
Sometimes they
You've been going to a smaller throttle body.
they jump the shark with some of these copy activities. So. Yeah, and if you're running their strut tie bar, I would also encourage you to look at ours because I don't think theirs does anything. It's very, very flimsy.
Oh, and it kills me the way these guys mount their strut tie bars with just 2 bolts in the axis of what you're trying to prevent, basically. So the strut tie bar is supposed to tie and triangulate struts from like doing this action. When you put 2 bolts that are basically hinges right here, you're just giving it a hinge, you're just pushing. Yeah, it's gonna tie them together a little bit, and you get a little bit more of that strength. But why?
Yeah,
why
but it can continue to do this when you have at least 4 points. It creates a rigid.
You can at least lock it down.
Yeah. If you want to email us, we'll be happy to talk to you more about this. But we have a strut tie bar that actually stiffens your front suspension mounting points, and we have a proven throttle body setup that's on world record car.
Yeah, I don't know what wiring setup they use on this because they don't do the tuning. So,
but they just copied some stuff, so they're just trying to grab some market share. So. How do you guys feel about increasing positive caster for the track or even on the street? We feel great about it. We just released some new strut mounts for the MQB cars and MQB Evo cars that adds camber and caster. They're called the Camster mounts. And then we are also working on a caster only mount that will give you the most possible caster from the strut mount. And then you use our ball joints on the lower section to add camber. So it would be a double whammy. So caster, as we've discussed before, really helps with handling, and it helps with the camber curve when the wheels are turned or when the suspension's compressed. So caster is a good thing, and adding it to a street car will help it handle better. And you'll see often in race cars where the upper strut mounts are moved back to like the base of the windshield, as far back as they go. All right. Should we talk about stage 3? So our much anticipated B9 3.0T S4 S5 SQ5 stage 3 file will be available today. It's not on the website right now. We're currently updating product pages, but we figured since we're doing the live and it's going to be on the site today, let's just let you guys know about it.
Yes, if you have any questions, start rattling them off. We'll try and hit them as we're talking about it here.
So we'll just go over. Looks like there are already some questions. Yep. We're just going to go over the basics real quick, and then this information will be available on the product page again this afternoon. So initially today we will be making available stage 3 tunes calibrated for the TTE 710 turbo. We will be making available ECU and TCU tunes. The ECU and TCUs will both be named stage 3 files. And again, this is specific to a TTE 710. If you have a Pure 750 or a TTE 810, this file has not been tested or designed for those turbos yet. We will be working our way through all the options, but the 710 by far is the most popular. And there is an easy upgrade path to go from 710 to 810. So if you want to jump into stage 3 now, I would say get into 710, and then you can upgrade to 810. We are offering 91 octane, 93 octane, 104, an E60 mix file, and an E85 pump file. So we're going to start using this nomenclature moving forward. When we say it's a pump file, it means you go get E85 from the pump and you pump it in your tank. That doesn't mean it has to be E85 exactly. So our E85 pump file is typically can measure anywhere from about E60 to E85, and it's fine in that range. Our E60 mix file is a file that you mix down to E60, and that allows the fuel system to deliver the most fuel. The E60 file is the most powerful file that we're offering. And I think we're saying you need to be kind of E55 to E60.
You got to be pretty close on this one, yeah.
And you don't have to be exactly E60.0, but if you're like E58, that's great. E57, you get the idea. So for wheel horsepower on E60, we're getting 615 foot-pounds of torque and 605 wheel horsepower. On E85 pump file, we're getting 550 foot-pounds and 535 wheel horsepower. Now, for E60 crank, we're estimating 720. We haven't measured crank. I don't think any tuner out there will.
This is using the same conversions we're using for stock to performance. If anything, normally it goes the other way, where we would see a little more actual crank power, but you lose some of that in the added friction of the transmission and whatnot. Yeah. So we're not increasing that for these. We're not trying to inflate it.
This is an accurate estimation based on the factory power rating and what we're seeing at the wheels, and then we extrapolate that out. The turbo is rated for 715, so we're right there, and clearly it depends on what fuel you're running.
Yes,
you're not going to make 710 horsepower on 93 octane. For example.
Actually, I can throw the chart up too if anybody wants to see.
Yeah, we got the charts as well. And then on E85 pump, at the crank, we're at 643 horsepower and 650 torque.
This is just E60, guys. I don't have any of the other charts ready for showing you here.
Yeah.
Oh, good. It fits on me. Okay.
All right, and then we are working on a 104 octane file, which we will have available. It's not available yet, but if you buy our stage 3 file, 104 will be free when it becomes available. It'll be added to the server, and you'll just see it under your account. And then on 93 octane, we're at 505 torque and 475 wheel horsepower. And 91 octane, we're at 490 torque and 460 wheel horsepower. So, I mean, that's pretty insane. I mean, 460 wheel on 91. Yeah. I mean, that is really fast. And we're seeing, really hard spool up by 4,000 RPM. Really hard acceleration by then. So, for most people in the country, they're going to be 475 wheel, just on 93 pump. It's really astonishing. So it's like we've been saying for a long time, this is a really exciting time to be tuning Audis.
Yeah, these are just thank you guys.
numbers you could have only dreamed about, even 10 years ago.
They've been designing some pretty potent packages.
As far as feature set, it's very similar to our, B9, either B9 Stage 1 and Stage 2.
Yep.
This has been optimized for 710, so the fuel timing and everything is optimized for the 710. So for the E60 versus E85, E60 is the mix file, E85 is the pump file. The E60 mix, maximizes the fuel system's capability. So the more ethanol content there is, the more fuel is required, and it taxes out the system's ability. So on full E85, more ethanol is being injected, which means the overall capacity of the system's reduced. So that's why we bring the power down. Now it's important to add, we don't recommend, and we have not found the need for different injectors or bigger injectors.
Yeah.
We are not leaving any power on the table, and there's nothing wrong with the stock injectors. We're really not here to sell extra parts to people that they don't need. And so, there is no advantage currently for bigger injectors, assuming you can access all the maps in the ECU and optimize the amount of fuel that the injectors can inject. And that's, I was seeing some posts from another tuner this weekend where it's very clear that they have not figured out how to extract
it seems so, yeah.
So there are some, I don't want to call them tricks, but they're technical tuning and calibration actions that need to be taken to fully optimize and maximize the stock fuel system's capabilities.
Yeah, what we're seeing right now is we're basically out of, we're at the limit of what the turbo can reasonably provide. Yeah. So we don't have the need to run more than that, obviously.
This is definitely at the limit of the turbo. No one's going to come out with a file that makes 50 more horsepower.
Yeah, we do. Did you speak to? We are going to require the 4-bar map sensor. That's primarily to give you a good amount of headroom.
That is needed, right? Because of the boost levels that are being run.
We're not running 4-bar. We're
not
running 4-bar, 3-bar boost. It's there for to give you a range of measurable pressure over what we're targeting.
We feature optimized launch control, which launches between 3,500 and 3,700 RPM. So as far as required hardware, these are all the hardware components you need to have on the engine to produce our rated advertised power numbers safely. You're going to need a good intake. Specifically, we recommend 034 intakes, our X34 or P34. Could any other aftermarket intake suffice? Possibly. I know there's some pretty bad ones out there, so use your best judgment. But just because you have an aftermarket intake doesn't mean you have enough flow to make these
filter falls off in the engine bay, like was recently posted on questions. That's fine. That's good.
Yeah. So yes, as far as intake, and hardware, we recommend the 034 product ecosystem, which is all tested and holistically designed as a one performing unit.
I know it seems really weird.
Yeah,
we do recommend it.
We do. So the upgraded inlet, not a lot of good options out there for that, right?
There's one offer that would be suitable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. This isn't a required.
It is.
Well, I guess in order to install the turbo, you need something. Yeah. Okay. If you have a inlet on your car already, then you have it, but you will need some type of inlet to accommodate the bigger compressor of the 710 turbo. And then a high flow racing downpipe of some kind.
Yeah, for this kind of calibrations, this is marketed for race setups with aftermarket downpipes. We're going to have a stock downpipe file set coming soon.
Yeah, and then an intercooler is definitely required.
Yes,
we recommend the Wagner unit, which again, all our numbers are designed with the Wagner unit. There are some bad intercoolers out there from some 3-letter companies that you're going to want to stay away from. They actually don't flow enough, and they will reduce the performance at this level. So again, just because you have an aftermarket something around doesn't mean it's actually suited to make this level of power, which is ridiculous amount of power. 4-bar map sensor is required. We'll be supplying the OE part number, and also we'll be stocking and selling the part. And this it's not because we're running 4-bar, but we are at the limit of the stock map sensor, and so we want to make sure that regardless of whatever happens with boost, that we're reading what it actually is. Yep. And with the stock map sensor, there's a risk of clipping or flatlining at the top. That's exactly
it. You're clipping your measuring.
Yeah. So, and then you are going to need an upgraded high pressure fuel pump. There's been some controversy about this recently. Unfortunately, nobody really uses any kind of like standard to quantify the performance of their high pressure fuel pump.
It's such a simple metric. I keep seeing these companies be like, it'll provide 180 bar, but at what flow?
Yeah.
Like what measure is that made at? Like, so that's not a measurement that means anything in this world. You gotta what's the flow increase? What's your basically increase in volume per stroke.
All right. So based on our testing and our engineering and development, you need a pump that can flow at least 37% increase in diameter. And so, we're not here to advertise for them, but we'll say that because people really need to know this, that the APR pump and the VIS pump, while the APR pump we've tested, the VIS pump appears to have the same specs as the APR pump, and it should be compatible. We have not tested the VIS pump. We have no experience with the ORT pump. We reached out to them early on to get some pumps from them, and they said they didn't have enough pumps to send us. And then they later reached out and asked us if we wanted some pumps, and
it was followed up.
We had already moved on to other options, but there is some controversy around that pump, and another tuner has come out and said that it doesn't flow enough. So
ORT's followed up, and they were getting into it on some of the Facebook groups too.
But they do have
they explained why their piston diameter was smaller, which that's up to them and what they choose for their design considerations. But we and others are using everything we can get out of these larger pistons, and that's going to be required.
I think it sounds like there's a viable market for like stage 1, stage 2 applications.
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be a great solution for Again,
we haven't tested it, but it does appear that pump doesn't flow enough, and there's this idea that you can make up for that with the low pressure side, which is not true.
We've got.
There's no issue.
We've got enough low pressure right now.
So I think ORT really sustain it. Not to get into it, but if you're concerned about having enough flow, for sure APR works. We believe VIS will. We just haven't tested it, but from what we've seen and the specifications of that pump, it does appear that it has the same 37% increase in diameter that the APR has. Okay, so let's talk pricing. So full retail, if you're just coming to us and you don't currently own any of our tuning, is $1,350 for the ECU file. If you currently own our 034 Stage 2, then it's a $400 upgrade. If you currently own our Stage 1 and you'd like to go straight to Stage 3, it's a $500 upgrade. We will continue to offer a 25% switching discount. So if you're on another tuner's calibration and you'd like to jump over to 034, reach out to contact@034 Motorsport. We will send you a quote. And again, we include all the octanes. So if you buy Stage 3, you'll get all the octanes that are available now and any future octanes that we come out with as well. We do not charge for octanes. We charge for stages. Now, there will be a TCU tune as well. We are still porting over the TCU tuning. So if you purchase that today, that should be live in your account by the end of the week. If you get the ECU tuning sooner, you can run our Stage 3 ECU tuning with your current Stage 1 or Stage 2 TCU tuning. This Stage 3 is fully optimized to get the most out of the shifting of
Stage 3 TCU.
The TCU
it's
of the 710, but it will run on the other TCUs as well. and everything is automatically adjusted for that. For the Stage 3 TCU tune, shift points are optimized at wide open throttle to maximize the power into the curve of where the TT710 produces power. So the idea is to shift and then in the next gear be back in the boost and not fall out of the boost or something like that. Shift point optimizations in all modes on part throttle to keep in boost. You want to discuss that at all?
Well, this turbo is big enough that it really justified going in and remapping a lot of the mid-range shift points as well, just so you're not always shifting while before the turbo comes up to steam and it's just clicking down through the gears and you've got a fairly anemic feeling motor.
Yeah.
So this really livens that up and moves those shift points up as they should be with a larger turbo on there, which is if, as we've said before, if it needs to be done, we'll do it. We don't do it on all of our TCU files for all of our stages because usually they don't need that. But in this case, it makes enough of a really noticeable benefit in drive perception and performance that it's in there on all these.
All right, let's try to get through these so we can maybe sort of few.
Oh man, yeah, I didn't realize we were going so far on time.
So shift point is 6,900 to 7,000 RPM depending on the gear you're in. There's a single shift map for all ECU octanes.
Yeah, so we won't have an E85 and then a 9193 like we did with the stage 1 stuff. That was done because the power bands were shaped so differently. Mm-hmm. Generally, if your power band's the same profile, you can run the same TCU shift points.
And then further increases in clutch clamping force inside the transmission to make sure that the transmission's holding the power.
Yep.
The price for our Stage 3 TCU tune is $750. If you currently own our Stage 2 tune, good news, it's only a $100 upgrade. And if you'd like to upgrade from our Stage 1, which we include for free, to Stage 3, I think we can do better than that.
Well, Stage 1 is the free zero.
You're always going to have Stage.
But we've always offered
That's
the previous.
That's $0. That's the free
And when we released Stage 2, we did this. Remember?
Okay, we can talk.
Yeah. We're gonna try to come up with something for current Stage 1 owners who bought before this. Now, moving forward, from this day on, it's going to be $750 to get the Stage 3 file because we don't really charge anything for Stage 3. But what we'd like to do is offer a discount for people who've already bought Stage 1 before as a appreciation for buying into our program. Okay, and then again, 25% switching discount on from switching from a competitor TCU to. And what we're going to do is, if you currently have bought our Stage 1 file before today, if you got to Stage 1 with our ECU tuning, then it'll be a $550 upgrade. So you'll save $200 for being a valued customer. All right, let's try to jump into a few questions here. Does Stage 3 support catless downpipes for track use, or does it have to have a high flow cat? I believe a catless would work too.
Yeah.
Anything that's higher flow than stock. Again, there's a lot of stuff out there, but yeah. B9.5 compatibility.
Yeah, ECU will be. TCU we are
Still
working on. We actually have an in-house vehicle now. We are going to be doing more and more of it.
How safe is 720 crank torque on a stock block? Well, what is the crank torque?
720.
Okay, that's something.
Yep.
We haven't observed any issues in all of our testing currently. There are other people on the market pushing these blocks this far. They are holding. So it is a lot of torque. So when you're at this level of tuning, you do have to accept some inherent risk that something could go wrong and you could blow up a motor. If that's frightening thought to you, maybe don't run the E65.
Yeah, we have an E85 file, which is
E85
even easier.
Yeah.
So you can just pump in straight E85, and that'll make a ton of power stuff.
But I think once you start getting into turbo upgrades, it's really tough as a tuning company to you are getting closer to the limit.
Yeah, and that's not to say we're being reckless or anything.
No.
We've not seen any indication that we need to do anything differently. So we can only go with what information we're able to get out of our testing and our calibration work. And at this time, everything's rock solid.
Can you go into more detail as to why E60 makes more power than full E85? I mean, I did talk about this
we did talk
earlier.
about that earlier.
Ethanol requires about 30% more fuel to generate the same amount of power as gasoline. And so the more ethanol there is, the more the fuel system has to deliver. And so by going from E85 to E60, we gain some fuel system capacity, but we still have enough of the benefit of E85 and the knock resistance, the high octane characteristics of an ethanol blend to make the most peak power. So what we're doing is there's two things in consideration here is the power that E85 or ethanol can produce due to its octane and its knock resistance, and then there's fuel system capacity. And so at E85, we're maximizing the knock resistance, but we're lowering fuel system capacity. At E60, we're bringing knock down a little bit, but we're bringing the capacity back up, and that's the sweet spot. So that's why. And if you want to read more about the stoichiometric ratio or the energy in ethanol, you can. It just has less energy per unit of fuel than gasoline. Yeah. And dead dinosaurs apparently make a lot of energy.
That we're giving up anything knock.
Well, I'm just saying
theoretically, but it's more just we know it's a pain to mix E60, so we don't want to just force everybody into E60. Yeah. That's why the E85 file is available, but we can get more power because we can get more fuel through the motor, or more usable fuel through the motor with E60.
We're not making a more detonation file.
No,
that's for sure. But if you keep going down in ethanol content, at some point you
start flipping.
You lose the benefit, right? And so we're taking some out of the knock resistance category that we didn't need, and we're putting it back into the fuel system capacity category that we do need.
Yep, exactly.
And this is why we're always talking about compromises, and the nuanced solutions is where you always end up from an engineering standpoint. And I'm sure there's some tuner out there that might say, well, we're running full 85, so it has the maximum knock resistance. Like, okay, but you just reduced your fuel system capacity to a point that can't make as much power. So you really need it. Will the Stage 3 S4 B9 map for the UK be delayed, or will it be coming out with the US version? Well, that would be our 104 file, since it didn't have ethanol.
Right. Yeah, but the normal octanes and stuff, there's no reason that would be delayed.
Yeah. No, they're not. I mean, what we found is they're basically the same. Right?
Yep.
Yeah, AwesomeGTI is your people over there. Feel free to contact them, and they will have all this later today as well, or tomorrow once it's updated on your site. Flex fuel compatibility. We do not currently offer flex fuel. So you can either run E85 pump straight from the pump, or you can blend E60, and you want to be between E55 and E60 for the E65, which is mixed.
And even on the 85 file, we still recommend you have a content analyzer just so you know where things are at.
This will be released this afternoon.
Yep.
On our site. So stay tuned.
Yes, a couple of people have been asking when will this be released.
We will post on all the social medias and send out emails and stuff. Are there plans for a TTE A10 tune? Yes, absolutely. We have not run an A10 yet. It's still really new on the market, and we're waiting to get ours from TTE. There is a 710 to 810 upgrade kit that TTE offers. So I think the A10 will be slightly laggier, and it will continue to make more power up top. Like we've said, the 710 was maxed out. So that extra airflow up top, it'll be yet to be seen how easily that can be used based on the fuel system capacity. But I don't think the A10 is going to be like a lot faster than the 710 or anything like that. But it'll probably make more peak power. What inlet is recommended while we wait for your inlets? I can't answer that. We're trying to get our inlet to market as quickly as possible. We have prototype units. We've 3D printed units using production 3D printing methods like that.
Yeah, no, this isn't like off a normal printer. This is like OEM,
like an OEM
engineering grade plastic that you can run live on an engine.
Can we keep going? Like, will we just lose one of the channels?
We can keep going. Yeah, I don't know. Instagram gets weird, so we might drop off of Instagram if we keep going.
Yeah, if we do, try to hop over to Facebook or YouTube, but at least we can get all the stuff in.
Yeah, we're trying to keep it recorded.
Any possibility of a feature of in-car map switching without the computer? Not right now. This is something we will consider in the future. We have discussed this quite a bit. If we can put engineering resources towards something, putting it towards map switching just brings the least amount of benefit to the customer base versus new tunes and calibrations like what we're doing here. You can easily switch tunes with a laptop and Wi-Fi and a battery tender.
Yeah.
So
And I mean, I'll be frank. Like the map switching part of things is generally like a 40-second process map for the when you're going between octanes. So battery tenders generally not needed. We say it is just to be safe, but if your battery doesn't last 40 seconds, it's problems.
Will there be TurboSystems Stage 2 or Stage 3 support? Possibly. I mean, we will support anything that people are buying and using. I haven't heard of anyone running those yet, but I mean, I'm sure people are running them. There, so
There's a similar question.
put in your requests.
Earlier that came up was like, why is everybody on the TTE bandwagon? Well, I mean, it's a good turbo that a bunch of people have already bought. So that's
TTE
you're seeing more of that right now.
TTE makes very good turbos. They have good reliability. They have a great reputation. They make the power, and that's what everyone's bought so far. I mean, majority of people. So, do you fit the hardware then load file, or can you load the file and take the motor to a garage to install hardware? I mean, there's no reason you can't just load the file at the garage.
Yeah, or you can also drive. I mean, you can drive this thing fine on a stock file too. I mean, it'll.
Yeah.
You know, the hardware's.
Yeah, you can drive it from the garage home and then flash it, but just limp it along. Don't go wide.
Yeah, I mean, the one catch though is you will be on a 4-bar map sensor, so that will have to be matched to the file you're running. So.
So then it would be better to flash after the hardware.
You have, yeah. I mean, once you get the 4-bar map in, you have to have the correct calibration for it. So
I don't see why you wouldn't do it at the shop.
yeah,
If they have Wi-Fi.
If they can install a turbo kit, they can flash the file to these.
Get your cable, get your laptop, have them hook it up to a battery charger.
Yep.
Will you do an E30 file for US for us in the UK? Do they have E30 there?
Yeah, I know that's
I don't know why we'd do that over the E60 file.
If you can do E30, then I guess we'd ask why can't you do E60? But as far as I know, that's what I keep hearing is that E85 is not available in the UK. It's Freedom Fuel. If there's ethanol, what will happen if I pair your Stage 3 ECU and TCU tune with all supporting Stage 3 parts, but use the Garrett G35-900 turbo?
It's entirely a different turbo with a very different profile boost control. So no, we are not going to say that's going to work at all how you want it to.
We don't know what would happen.
We don't know because it also depends entirely on what the turbine is, what the exhaust setup to it is.
This caliber,
this is designed for the TTE 710.
That's
it. It's not designed for anything else.
It's not a big turbo tune. It's a TTE 710 tune. Happens to be a big turbo.
Yep.
What would happen if I mix 104 octane with E85 to get E60?
Good things. It's a great. I mean, you've got a great mix of fuel in the motor.
You're going to be out some money. Yep. But no, you don't need to do that. All of our mixed fuels are designed for pump fuel, so 91, 93, whatever you have available.
But yeah, it's going to increase the basically the base octane rating of the whole mixture. So that's never a bad thing generally. It can get a little harder to light off if you go really high in octane. So you can actually get misfires and things if you go way high octane stuff. We used to run like 130 octane stuff from in our old ATQ, and that thing would be grumpy sometimes if it was cold.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The A8C.
Yep.
It would barely light off, especially when it was cold.
Yep. But I mean, that's with 104. That's probably not going to be an issue. You have to watch what 104 you are putting in, though. That's another thing. Some of it is oxygenated. So if you're running like Sunoco GT 260 plus, or I think MS109 is to an extent as well, it's what's called an oxygenated fuel, which means your fuel demand increases on that fuel as well. So that's something to keep in mind as you're potentially, putting further demand on your fuel system.
Someone's asking if we have any quarter mile data to back up the power figures. We do, and we have, and we're working on getting more.
Yeah, we'll get more.
this tune definitely is making the power. It's very fast. Going to the track and actually getting the times, or going to Mexico as it may be, is more of the challenge. But the tune makes the power, and we will release more information like we always do. So if you're concerned about jumping on based on that, we just with the help of a customer reset the B8 3.0 T world record. We hold lots of world records for the B9 3.0 T platform already, and we do go out. So yeah, no, I mean we will, and we always put our money where our mouth is when it comes to that. Reason for wanting an e-blend in the UK is it is available, but it's €4 per liter, more expensive than desired. Isn't that really cheap?
No, liter.
No, I know, but how much is gas per liter?
For
Over there, over there, I don't know.
4 liters is a gallon, so that's €16 for a gallon, just about.
No, I know, but I didn't think gasoline was much cheaper than €4. I'm familiar with liters, dude. Going to elementary school.
It takes me to figure out, sure.
I don't know. That still seems pretty cheap for based on what fuel costs in the UK.
Yeah,
$4,000 turbo hardware.
Yeah, we're talking. It's
and race fuels. It can't be any cheaper.
No.
Race fuel must be substantially more.
I mean, you've got to get the octane, level in there, somehow.
It still sounds like ethanol is pretty cheap, but if you'd like to send more information, I'd be interested in. But I mean, paying a little bit of a premium for fuel it's not kind of how it works.
Yeah, it's a tough thing to I don't want to say skimp on, but it's kind of got to pay what you got to pay to run it.
Well, and then also E30 is it's not enough.
Yeah.
You want to be closer to E60. All right, we're talking about that knock resistance level. By the time you get down to E30, you've lost a lot of that. All right, any more?
Any plans to support other turbos?
Yes. We've said repeatedly we're going to support big turbo that people are using. There's
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought that was the deal.
There's currently we have plans to do pure 750 turbo and TTA 10. I guess we're taking suggestions for anything else. Is there US 93 octane fuel map for UK 99 raw fuel? Any reason it would be better to get your 91 octane file over the 93 one?
No, from what we've seen, the 93 has been fine on the 98 and up raw fuels.
Yeah.
So you should be okay.
Can we talk about that on our product pages?
Yeah, it's tough. We have to pick like a standard to put up. Because similar box codes can be used in multiple regions around the world with different different pump listing standards. So.
If you're concerned about it at all, you can certainly run 91.
Yep.
There's no harm in going lower. You just don't want to ever go higher than what your tune is. So. All right. Anything else?
That's all.
Yep.
We're really excited to see what customers do with these tunes. It'll be fun to see the fast times people run. This is a whole new level of power that I don't think the market has really seen. I mean, even on the DAZA side, it's certainly there's way bigger power numbers than this, but to get it this easily,
it's pretty achievable here.
It's pretty awesome. So cool. Was there anything else?
There's one other question
That's to know track testing.
Yeah, so they're asking if a T710 or an 810 would be better on like a track like COTA. We don't know. We don't have that direct testing. We haven't tested the 810 itself yet, so we will let you guys know once we have more of that info.
Generally, though, on track, peak power is not your biggest concern. It's traction,
drivability,
and the 710 is going to have an advantage of being little less laggy. But
we're not talking. We've talked about this before. We're not talking like what it looks like on the dyno per se. That's a tough metric to really show. It's a transient response. So like, say you're at like $4,000, $5,000, and you tip in quickly. How quickly does it take the turbo to come up and respond to what your input is?
But even on the static comparison I saw, it was a good 200 RPM slower.
Yep.
Just on under static. So that's indicative of it being, laggier too under dynamic shifting throttle modes.
Yep.
But your fast lap around COTA's 50 horsepower is not going to make a difference. It's going to be putting that power down and actually getting around the corners. Honestly, I bet you could go perfectly fast on a stage 1 file with a really good chassis set. But if you can get a lot of tire and grip under the car, then you can put that power down. So, all right.
All right, guys.
Wow, ethanol is a lot more expensive. Yeah.
0.75 to versus 4. Yeah, that's a lot more expensive, but it's a lot more octane too. So.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers.